What's up, guys? Welcome back to Classic Octane and another episode of Will It Run Wednesday. So today we have another Honda 305 up on the lift. This is not mine. The 305 Dream is my own personal bike. This is a customer bike. Basically, this customer reached out to me and said, hey, I have a 305 Super Hawk, which is what model this is, or a CB77. And I want you to go through the bike and just get it running, riding, replace any of the rubber components, including the tires that are kind of old and cracked. The bike's been sitting for right at 20 years. And he basically wants to be able to ride it, be able to park it in the garage and look at it. We're not going for a full concourse restoration. We're just going for a nice, clean, good example of what this bike can be. Keeping the aesthetics as original as possible. In the future, we will be upgrading to a modern electronic ignition with the modern coils and also a new voltage regulated rectifier. Right now, I want to see if we can get the bike running in its current state. That way, when we go to upgrade those things, we know we're starting with a good running bike in the beginning. It's always better to do that than just tear into the ignition system right away, and then you don't know if there was some other problem before. And so we're going to see if we can get it running as is. The carburetors have years of gunk stuck on the outside. I am waiting for some rebuild kits. They'll be here on Friday. But I want to see if we can just pull these apart, clean them out, get the bike running, and then we'll take them apart again and vapor blast them and everything in the future. But what do you say we get started? First order of business is we're going to pull the seat off, and then we can pull the side covers. That way we can actually get access to the air filters and the battery, which I don't even think it has a battery, so we'll need to find a temporary battery and get a new battery ordered and on the way. And basically what I want to do is hook up a battery and check the electronics of the bike. I want to make sure that everything's kind of operating as it should. We can turn over the bike. He mentioned having an issue with the electric start 20 years ago, so we'll have to see if that works and if we need to rebuild the starter, or we can kind of figure out from there. But pull this guy off, let's put it in a safe spot. We can go and pull off these side covers. Yeah, no battery currently. All the electronics seem to be factory, as far as I can tell. Looks like there's a trickle charger, battery tender plugged in, but everything else seems to be pretty original. Air filters are not dirty, but kind of dusty, so we may end up just ordering some replacements for that, because everything's just a little dry. I do have the original toolkit as well, so we'll probably vapor blast those tools and stuff just to get them nice and cleaned up. So let me pull the other side cover off. We will find a battery, and then we need to check and see if there's oil in the bike currently, what the condition of that oil looks like, and see if it's going to be clean enough for us to at least get the bike running. I always prefer to drain the oil when it's a little bit warm, and as long as it's not too terribly dirty, if the bike's been sealed up, it's not going to hurt anything. The oil is not going to have broken down enough over that amount of time to cause damage. I'm sure some of you will disagree, but yeah, so let's do that. I'm going to pull that side cover off. We'll check the oil. Let's pull this dipstick and see what we got. I am obviously going to be doing an oil change on this bike, but oh wow. I'd venture to say that that is not been run, because it still has the amber color to it. That's not bad at all. It's also full, I believe. Let's check. Oh yeah, we're right in line, and it's maybe been run a little bit, but it is not that dirty, so I'm going to run with it for this initial startup. Again, I don't plan on running the bike for an extended period of time with this, but it will be just fine for what we're doing here. So now that that works, let's find a battery to hook up and kind of test out the electrical system and see if that starter motor even works. Got a jump box hooked up. We're going to turn the key. No sizzling, no popping, no magic smoke. So try the headlight. Okay, headlight works. Tail light works. Nice. Brake light? Not on that. Have to try and see if... Oh! I don't know if there is a switch on the... Oh no, I don't think there is. So, but there is a switch for the brake light down here. Hell, even the brake light works. Alright. Let's hit the start button and see. I know the bike is in neutral because I put it up on the lift and rolled it in. Oh yeah, she turns over. Not bad. So I'm going to turn it over for probably 5 or 10 seconds. Get some oil circulating around in there. Nice. This bike is going to come back easy, I bet. Oh gosh, I shouldn't have said that. Alright. So far so good. What do you say we pull off a spark plug and we can test for spark? Go from there. Got an 18mm socket on there. Let's see. I'm anticipating needing to open this up and clean the points. Most bikes that are sitting this long need that. Which is pretty normal, but I always like to check just to see. Okay, I'll just hold it up against the head here. Key is still on. Are you kidding me? It still has spark. It's been sitting for 20 years. The internet is not going to believe me. They're going to think I fabricated this. Let's swing around to the other side and see if we have spark on that cylinder too. I can already hear the comments with disbelief, but Scout's honor, I have not worked on this bike. I haven't done anything. A little bit of kind of gunk around this one. It's probably just on the outside. It's not on the actual electrode or anything. It's almost like a grease or something that was put on there back in the day. Who knows? Alrighty. Let's give this one a shot. We got spark on both cylinders with no cleaning of points. Ah, wow. I did not expect that. Okay, let me get my fuel bottle. I'm going to dribble some fuel down both cylinders, and hell, I guess we're going to just go straight to seeing if we get some pops and bangs out of this thing. I did not expect it to be this quick. Got a little bottle of 40-to-1 premix, so I expect if we get it to start, it's going to smoke a little bit, which is going to be fine. Yay much. I always like to give credit at this point. I am a big Musty One fan. I got the idea for using two-stroke gas on these engines that have been sitting for a while from him. So go check out his channel if you haven't. If you're into this kind of stuff, or really he does a lot of all kinds of random old engines and like forklifts and all kinds of weird stuff. Some bike stuff too. I think he just did a some kind of old like marine engine or pump or something like that the other day. That was pretty fun to watch, which actually is funny because I'm going to try to do a Will It Run on a really odd, I guess I'm going to call it an engine. It's funky. You guys will see it in the future, and it'll be unique. It doesn't have wheels. but it should be fun to see if I can get it running. Okay. A little bit of fuel on there, a little bit of fuel on this side. Everything clear? What do you say we... I have no throttle because the carbs are so gummed up, so I'm not going to be able to modulate anything, but yeah, let's hit the key, or hit the button. Oh yeah. I can't give it any air. She went a little bit though. Let's pull the air intakes off so that I can spray some down the carbs, just so we can make sure we're getting some air, because again, I can't even move the throttle or anything. All these carbs are so gummed up. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the filter in the intake tube, which I need to get replacements for, off of both sides, and then we'll try it again. Now you can see what I was talking about of how dirty and gummed up these carbs are. So I do have the ultrasonic cleaner warming up right now, because we are definitely going to need to give these guys a soak. I'm going to try and see if I can get these slides to move a little bit, just so we can get a little bit more air in there. They are definitely gummy, so I'm not going to force them. I just want to see how stuck they are. No, I don't think we're going to be able to get them to move before totally pulling them out. Again, I'm not trying to force anything. No, I don't like it. Let's see if I can just spray a little bit of carb cleaner just right through the carbs here. Yay amount on that side. Try to slide under the slide as it is in the way. My can is just about empty. Let's see if we get any more pops with that. Oh yeah. Alright, let's just go ahead and pull those carbs off and clean them all out so we can actually get this thing running for longer than a couple of seconds. I'm going to need to make sure to definitely get some before and after pictures of these, because I think between ultrasonic cleaning and vapor blasting, it's going to be night and day difference. I'm going to need to figure out a way to clean up the head and everything too. We don't want to go as far as disassembling the motor to vapor blast the head. So maybe just a good kind of pressure wash and clean will get us down the road. See if I can get to these. Let me see if I can pull this tank off. I don't think it's... The petcock is in a box over there. I have a rebuild kit coming from that, so we're not going to be able to use the tank today anyway. But luckily he did have it coated. You know, 20 years ago, somebody pulled it apart and did a whatever that is, red coat, whatever on the inside. So the inside of the tank's in good shape. It just needs to be put back together. Interesting thing too is this is the same engine that's in my 305 Dream, but this one is dual carb, where my 305 was just a single. No idea why they do that. Maybe this is like more performance version. Pretty cool nonetheless. Yeah, we'll be replacing these coils and everything up here too with some modern ones from a place called Charlie's Place. I had never heard of it. I think they specialize just in this like 305 scrambler. They might do some of the smaller ones too, the like 125s or 175s or whatever they are as well. But since I haven't really messed with a ton of these, this actually just being the second one of a 305, I haven't really had much experience with them, but their product seems solid. I already have the electronic ignition and everything that came in the mail, so I was checking it out, and it seems like it's good quality stuff. So I'm going to continue to pull these off, and I'll bring you guys back when I have them on the bench. Over here on the bench, everything came out pretty easy. One interesting thing is the carb on the left had 2 springs for the throttle, and the one on the right only has 1. This definitely doesn't look like an OE piece to me. So it looks like maybe this one got a little bit stretched out. Somebody tried to add an extra one to kind of supplement it. I'm going to put it back with just the one on both sides, and we will test it and make sure it's returning and everything like it's supposed to, because this does not belong in there as far as I know. Everything else, man, they're just gummy. I had to spray some carb cleaner just around the slide just to kind of get it to free up so I could even start to pull it apart. What's funny is these, and it shouldn't really surprise most of you, but they're basically just a mini version of what's found on like a similar year or late 60s, early 70s CB750. Let me grab one of those carbs. Yeah, here's one from like a 72 CB750. It is very, very similar, as you can see, which, I mean, like I said, shouldn't really surprise you. They're both key-in, that's how I say it. I don't know if that's how you actually pronounce it, but very, very similar. I mean, all the mixture screws and stuff are in the same spot. You know, obviously there's changes, but pretty funny. 750 is obviously a lot bigger as well. So let's start to pull this apart. I'm going to go ahead and pull the choke linkage off first, so that we can get the carbs separated from each other. Just need to pull out this little cotter pin. I will replace these, so I don't really care if I break it. Just want okay. And we can separate them. Make sure we don't lose our little washer. Go ahead and pull the one out of this side as well. Still cannot believe that this bike still had spark. I don't know, I've done a lot of videos like this, and I've worked on a lot of bikes that have been sitting for this long, or you know, some not even this long, that didn't have spark, just because the points get a lot of corrosion on them. So I'm thinking this customer probably stored this bike inside. It does have some rust on the frame and stuff in certain spots, but I don't get the feeling that this bike was fully exposed to the elements, at least not for long. Alright, so we got that. Really won't need to pull this apart right now. Let's go ahead and pull these fuel lines off. Crusty. This one. We shouldn't have to deal with ethanol stuff in these carbs either, because back the last time these were run or had gas in them, ethanol wasn't really a thing, so, or at least it wasn't really widely used in gasoline. So let's go ahead and pop this bowl off. See what we got in here. Moment of truth. pretty gummed up. Oh man. I don't really want to pry on it. Oh yeah, she's gonna need some time soaking in the ultrasonic, that is for sure. Got some corrosion on our float. Only time will tell if that's going to be an issue or not. Whether or not it sinks to the bottom of the ultrasonic cleaner will tell us that. Put this clip aside. Oof, that's nasty. Let's pull the little drain screw out of here. Yeah, I'm excited to clean these, vapor blast them. Get these suckers looking like brand new again. Alright, I'm going to grab a small punch to remove our float pin. Let's see if this one will work. I don't see any obvious pinholes in these, but under this corrosion is going to be the part we should be most concerned about. See if our needle will come out. Not too bad. It's going to be our seat. And again, I mentioned earlier, I do have full rebuild kits on the way for these. So I will be replacing a lot of this stuff. A lot of these brass pieces are a lot nicer than what you can get in even high-end rebuild kits now. So if some of this stuff cleans up, you know, it's probably worth keeping and reusing, just because it's ultimately probably better than what we're going to be able to replace it with. See if we can get down in there. We got our secondary jet. Don't have to worry about rejetting these or anything either, because like I mentioned, we are going to be keeping this bike stock, so we have the stock exhaust and full air filters and everything, so stock jetting is going to be what we need anyway. I was hoping I could separate that. I'm going to have to get a wrench. See if I can gingerly get this off without. There we go. Our main jet out. Not terrible. See, our gasket is hard as a rock, as you would expect. So I'm probably just going to keep it as is right now. It will be replaced. Let's see. Our mixture screws out. Just make a note of that. I like to make a note of what the settings were, just so I can put it back as a good starting point. Gummy. I think that's about as much as we can get out of it right now. I don't know if that emulsion tube is going to come out easy. Let's see. terrible. Alright. This one is about as disassembled as we can get it. I need to make sure I don't lose these little springs and the mixture screws. Should be 2 of them. Sweet, so that's going to be ready for soaking. This rubber doesn't seem as bad, so I'll see if I can gingerly pull this off in one piece. For now, it's going to be part of our rebuild kit. Okay. Cool, now we'll tear this other one apart. I will spare you unless something interesting comes up. Everything on the other one came out easy, nothing too crazy or different than what we saw the first time around. So everything is ready to go into the ultrasonic cleaner. It's warming up. It's not quite to full temperature yet, but I'll probably throw some stuff in there and just maybe do it for 15 minutes, see how that looks, and go from there. But it normally heats up relatively quickly, so let's pull this basket out. I did just replace this carb cleaner I have in here too. It's a Berryman's. It's the stuff you buy in the like paint 1 gallon containers. There's 2 of them in here. This thing could probably do 2.5 gallons, but this should be enough. So get a good look at how they're going in. Put a bunch of stuff in here. I like to put all the little parts in this little basket so that I don't lose them. These are going to float on the top. These guys, might as well put in our fuel lines. We'll just soak everything in there. Oh, these fuel lines have been on there for a minute. Okay, I guess I'm cutting these off, so we'll do that in a second. Alright, that's pretty much everything that's going into the pool. Cool. So I will turn on the ultrasonic, and I'll bring you guys back when it's time to pull them out and see what everything looks like. Alright, 15 minutes down. Let's see what we got. Floats are still on top. That's a good sign. Cleaned up pretty well. The parts that weren't in the fluid still got some gumminess on them, but actually looks like it's wiping off. Oh yeah, it'll just wipe off with a rag. So those will be fine. These are a little worse, but yeah, these might need to soak just a little bit longer. It's like coming off, but try to prop it up in a way that'll have them stay. Let's see how everything else did. Car bodies look much better. Still some gunk on there, but nothing that a little aerosol spray and a good wipe down won't clean off. Like I mentioned earlier, this customer did opt in to have vapor blasting done. Honestly, it probably makes the most sense for me to just do that now. since they're already disassembled, and then when those rebuild kits come in, I can replace all the gaskets and stuff. But since they're as far broken down as I need them to be to vapor blast them, I'm probably going to go ahead and knock that out right now. I'm not going to bore you guys with that, but we can keep digging. Oh yeah, the bowls cleaned up really nice. Sweet, look at that. This thing's had all kinds of gunk in them before. Looks great. Let's check this other one out. Not bad at all. Very happy with that. Okay. We'll definitely want to get in here with the air hose and everything and just make sure that all these passages are blown out and there's no gunk kind of built up in there. We want to make sure that our choke moves nice and free. But they look pretty good. I don't think they actually need to soak any longer. We got all our little components here. And slides cleaned up nice. Let's look in some of our oh yeah, all our brass pieces look really good. Sweet. So I'm going to go through and kind of rinse a lot of this stuff, blast air through it, just make sure, because I can tell. Oh no, that was just carb cleaner in there. Man, these jets came back like brand new. Awesome, this looks really good. I'm stoked on that. So I'm gonna, like I said, rinse a lot of this stuff off. I'm gonna figure out how to get this guy to stay in there. I wonder if I can put this basket upside down or hook something to this to make it sink. I don't know. I'll figure out some way to boom, just like that. Kind of rig it up in a way that makes it float with the dirty side down. And we'll go from there. We are all cleaned, vapor blasted, and ready to go. I love that machine. These turned out great. Everything is nice and clean. So we are ready to go back together. So let's just start with this side over here. Yeah, most of these brass pieces are in good shape, cleaned up really well, so no real issues there. Basically, out of the rebuild kits, I think I'm only going to really need to use the let's put these back in. The gaskets. Everything else, I think I'm just going to keep original. Carbs are back on the bike. They look really good. Quite the difference from the rest of the engine, but we'll address that later. Throttle actually works now. I put on some new fuel line. Going to use my auxiliary fuel tank here so we can actually put some fuel in the cars. Run this thing hopefully for a little while. Working. I'll open it up and see if we have any leaks or overflows or anything like that. Here, fuel going in. so good. Sweet. What do you say we hook this jump box back up? Okay, should be good. Alright, I think we're ready to see if it will fire. I'm going to back you guys up a little bit. Put you right here. Turn our key on. Choke. See what happens. Be running a little bit lean since we don't have the air filters on. Never ceases to amaze me, these old Hondas. I mean, sitting for 20 years, clean the carb, throw a battery on it. Doesn't seem to be doing a whole heck of a lot. Doesn't get a whole heck of a lot easier than that. I mean, 20 years. I didn't even have to clean the points. All I had to do was clean out the carbs, put some fresh fuel in it, fired right up. That is awesome. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Will It Run Wednesday. I know that this one, probably didn't learn anything because we didn't have to diagnose any problems or dive into ignition problems or anything like that to get it to run. This thing wanted to come back to life, and it did. So I'm excited about that. Basically, where I'm at on this bike now is I need to just start tearing it apart. We're going to be repainting the front fender, the side covers, and the rear fender a silver color. I need to find a paint that matches this blue so we can do some touch-up for some rust spots on that. The rest of it's just going to be a lot of cleanup, pull the exhaust off, vapor blast the flanges, steel wool and everything. The idea is we just bring this bike back to a really nice condition. I do need to investigate the clutch and see if maybe they're just stuck together. Maybe we can just free them up a little bit because when bikes sit for this long, it's not uncommon for the clutches to stick. So that should be a pretty easy fix. If we have to pull this side cover off to access the clutch, we can do that. And everything else seems to be pretty well sorted on the bike. I don't think we're going to have to dive too much into electrical issues or anything like that. I will make sure to bring you guys in when I do that electronic ignition. That should be pretty interesting. So it's going to be, again, the ignition, the coils, and a new regulator rectifier. So it should be pretty cool to get that up and going, and we'll maybe do a comparison of how it cold starts and everything on the old system and the new system. Typically with electronic ignitions, bikes to start better, rev up a little bit faster. We'll see if that ends up being the case on this one. So I appreciate it. If this is your first Will It Run Wednesday, go back and check out the playlists. I've done quite a few of these. I try to get them out as often as I can. Hopefully at least one or two a month. Ideally, I'd like to do one every Wednesday, but we'll see if we get to that point. If this is your first video of mine, subscribe if you like what you see, and I'll see you guys in the next video.